Thanks for doing that.
Tuesday morning.
Yeah, better than Monday morning.
Yeah. I've got 4 kids going back to school.
Today? Oh, they went back yesterday?
But they're here.
Good morning, everyone. A minute too, but I'll do the introductions real quick. So thank you so much for coming to the Business and AI Workshop. My name is Brooke and I work for the Lake Superior Community Partnership as the Senior Business Development Representative. We have 2 amazing speakers today to kind of talk to you guys about AI and how that is going to help your business and how to utilize it. So our first presenter today is Joe Thiel from this Innovate Marquette Smart Zone.
I do have some handouts too on different types of AI innovation if you guys can take any further here too. And kind of my goal with this, we have 20 minutes like today or so. I mean, I can get through like one teeny tiny module of AI. So kind of a broad stroke of my thoughts on AI and how we use it in our organization. But then follow up. As a technology hub in our ecosystem, we do work with a lot of businesses in AI, and we also create businesses using utilization of AI. So I'm happy to follow up after this. If there's more questions, come out to your facilities or have follow-up meetings with additional content. I'm happy to do that. Okay. We had it working.
Maybe if you click just the arrow on the computer over.
Technology, everybody.
That's fine. That'll work.
Connection. Reshare this.
Excuse me. Oh, I guess we had it working now. Sorry about that. I got just kind of some level setting questions for everyone on where you're at with AI. So how many people are totally opposed to utilization of AI? That's good. How many people actually use ChatGPT and other types of AI for searching the internet as internet web browser? How many people have actually signed up in their AI the project toolbar, which would be to the left in ChatGPT, or other AI tools where you can actually, when you go in and utilize the tool, you can actually set up individual projects and then list those projects and then go from there. Cool. Great. Good. How many people have utilized an AI tool to monitor and track their needs, like Read AI? Okay, so Read AI are the tools. How many have done that? Some people. How many people have linked AI to their email? Like AI that you can, your email goes up, gives you like weekly updates, weekly reminders. How many people in their workflow process at their work have integrated a software tool that enables AI, like Monday.com or others? You have done that, right? The reason I want to ask those questions is because those are really like the basic use tools that you would see in most industry today as standard practice. How many of you have gone through like a 28-day AI tool boot camp? Right, like an online one? How many of you have an app on your phone that teaches you AI in your free time? Right, so if you haven't done that yet, all of those things, I would say pretty far behind in terms of where AI is at today. I'm not trying to be abrasive, but that's the reality of where we're at in the business world today. All of those tools are implemented in my daily workflow, and it's allowed me to 10x my work activity in terms of productivity by utilizing those and understanding that. So I would suggest when leaving this meeting, if you're interested in learning more about AI, is to sign up for a 28-day AI bootcamp, which is a digital tool that you can work with that will teach you all the different types of AI you can implement in your daily activities. Because once you get the AI tool that you like the best, you probably want to stick with one. I mean, I know you hear on the news, like, you know, Google's doing this, you know, X is doing this, ChatGPT is doing this. I would probably find one that you're familiar with, and they're all going to pretty much progress over time. I actually tie ChatGPT in with Grok together in my AI, which is a little bit unique, and that will do most of my project planning. So most of my day, in terms of project planning, is talking to the tool and sharing that with me in a chat format. Most of my emails are written communicating and chatting to my AI within my email. That's a significant boost in your daily productivity, getting away from typing that you can talk a lot faster. And then this is just coming from my recommendation, right? So once you have your chat tool or your GPT tool, your AI tool, where you can actually communicate with it verbally, and you can have a toolbar where you have all your projects listed, you can actually put in project codes there that can translate into your Read AI and into your email. And the reasoning for that is because when you're done with a Zoom meeting, and you talked for an hour, and the Read AI goes and catalogs all that stuff and breaks it all down by what you talked about, you can save that file back in the project folder within the GPT, and it'll update that conversation. And it will continue to track that over time. So as time goes on, you have more meetings within those projects. It's going to continue to build all that information for you, the data that you can easily search that. Yes.
Can you show us examples? You can show us how you do that?
Yeah, I can't. I don't have examples on here, but I can show you that, and I'd be more than happy to come and do that with you and show you how I do it. You just come to my office, set up a meeting after. You come for half an hour. I'll show you exactly how I've done it. I've done it with hundreds of people, literally. Show them exactly how I do it, and we can break that down. More than happy to do that, and that's a service that we provide for anybody in the community for Innovate Market. And most of my team can do it too. And then the reason I ask beyond that, beyond email, and beyond this project management within ChatGPT is your workflow process within your business. So we implemented Monday.com at Innovate Marquette specifically to be able to build a workflow process for the innovation process that we work with our clients. So when you come in, you go through this quick explore, and you go to validation, then you go on to this our trail-based incubation process where we teach you all about the incubation process and get your idea kind of ready to go to the next stage. All of that's built into Monday, and all of that is tracked in Monday, and all the communications associated with that was tracked within Monday, and that's also set up with AI and the agency so that a lot of the remedial things that you do, like send out, you know, random emails or emails that are generated at certain sequences throughout the project format, it does it automatically for you. So a lot of those day-to-day tasks that are like redundant, you can start building those in and then have those done automated. And if you do that properly, it can create a really good context with your clients and keep that communication channel. And you can build like different surveys and things into that. So once that's kind of all integrated together, that can significantly increase your efficiency and the efficiency of your team. And that's kind of the first phase of what I want to talk about is how I look at this is internal efficiency within your organization and your own work process is going to allow you a lot more time to think a lot bigger externally. And what I mean by that is, and we've seen this across our business, you may have seen it in some of the projects we're working on, most of my time throughout the week is spent on big thinking and big ideas because the majority of my remedial stuff is taken care of. So I can think about like, what are we going to do with this trade zone? Or what are we going to do with this bigger project? And I can also, I have all embedded, so I'm literally right now working on over 70 projects in my GPT and tracking all of that and having really good communication and content. So when something comes in my mind, I don't have to stop and just grab my phone, click in, start talking to it on that project, on that new thing that happened, or if I'm having a conversation with somebody. It's monitoring, tracking all of that. And the power of that is when a conversation comes up, I have all that context for that project. I can summarize things really fast because all that context is there. I can also reference outside sources like the internet and other things to go out and do reports to capture information and bring it back into that to keep me updated. Then I can also tie that into publications, white papers, books, things that have been published going forward that I can summarize and bring in relating to that content. So I'm always kind of staying up to speed. So the outcome that I see as the most beneficial for GPT and these technologies is not the ability for cost savings necessarily within the organization in the onset. It's the ability to have more depth in the projects you work on, but also a lot more context, what's happening outside of your organization that you wouldn't normally see like in your blind spots. It allows for a lot more of that, and for you to think on a much higher level and make better decisions based on industry trends and best practices as an individual. And professional development. It allows me a lot more time to spend on professional development activities I wouldn't normally get to stay in the forefront of my field, like reading articles, going through additional training, and additional professional development. So does that all make sense? And I would say that's kind of a baseline for where I would see the industry is right now in most of the organizations we work with outside of our region. So when we go into centers in Arizona and East Coast and West Coast, this conversation would be like, I'm behind the times, right? And that's why I truly really want to research all this stuff so I can kind of feel like I'm leading it a little bit here. There's a really great book out there. It's called Super Agency. If you guys want to read a positive outlook on AI and with some really great AI experts, Super Agency is a great book to read. I've read it a number of times, and I stole this from that book. What kind of adopter are you? We kind of broke down the technology and where you kind of fall within the tech. This is more like where you fall within like a group of people. And we've got the optimistic embracer, the cautious implementer, the skeptical observer, and the passive participant. I'm definitely here. I think some people are probably here and then somewhere in between. So a lot of things with AI, when you get it beyond your personal world, when you get into your business world, that can cause some issues with your business if you don't implement it properly. There's also a lot of different associated costs we'll talk about that, AI seems like, oh, it's a free tool. I mean, my AI tool per month is $400 for all the tools that I use within AI and all the integration I talked about is $400 a month. But it allows me to do a lot more work and it works for me. Some businesses that's not viable for them, $400 a month to be able to do that. And it can go up significantly from there. Key consideration before you start, you really want to have clarity of intention is more important than the complexity of the model. Also, you want to have implementations that you see immediate results by use of the tool. Right? It's really difficult to, and that's why I say incremental growth internally leads to exponential growth externally. These are little steps that you take as you gain efficiency that have a clear outcome. Really important, because you go into a huge AI project and it's a 2-year deal where you get all the way out there. It's a big thing to undertake as an organization. I think a much more incremental approach is better. Is the use case specific, repetitive, and measurable? Is your information clean and accessible and secure? Probably not. And this could take you a while to get this done where your information is clean and clear and actionable. Team engagement, who owns the process, who champions it? I own it in my organization, I champion it, I'm an example for everybody else, and then everybody else likes to use it because I'm seeing all the efficiency improvement. If I didn't really care, it probably would never get implemented. Risk and governance, this is a big one, and this is a big issue that you need to look at if you're going to actually implement this into a business. There are compliance things, personal information, all kinds of data issues, cybersecurity and security issues you have to deal with within this that you need to take into consideration. I only support human-in-the-loop technology. I do not support human-out-of-loop technology. Some applications allow for that if it's a very basic technical thing. But everything we do is human-in-the-loop, and actually all the AI companies that we've created are also human-in-the-loop. So if you look at SimCurrent or TagCXO or the other ones that have launched, all their technologies are human-in-the-loop technologies.
And does it mean that a human is working in it? Is that
right? Yeah, so it means there's a human monitor.
Okay.
Regardless if it's a super agency, so you may have just an agent doing work, you may have an agency doing work, you may have a super agency doing work, or you may have a super intelligence doing work. Those are all levels of AI that are more complex as you go down. Our tag system has about 14 agents in a super agency that is being monitored by a single AI that is being monitored by a human monitor. So that would be the human. Human always has access to observe it and make critical decisions. I think that there is some skepticism around will we ever be able to get to a true human out of the loop. Because if you're not monitoring and tracking it and it's creating code and doing a bunch of autonomous things, do you ever understand what it actually did from a human perspective and stuff? That's why we break the agencies down into multiple different agents and do different tasks and have their own kind of realms within that we monitor. And then compliance, you talked about that. That's a big deal. Yeah.
Which agents are you platformers?
Well, we use 4.0 pretty often. I'd have to, you can talk to Andy about that in more detail. He's our programmer that does all that work. And then Craig Matson's here too, is kind of a piece that does that. I mean, there's different, I think they're on another platform for Singer, for English version. Yeah. I don't get into that much of the detail a lot. I'm more kind of an observer, but they would be more about that. I would say in the cost of AI, API fees, licenses, custom integrations, development time, workflow design, backend alignment, training users, updating SOPs, managing changing, prompt refinement, data drift and performance. There's maintenance costs, monitoring costs, training costs, implementation, and then obviously the tooling's not free either, right? The access to the AI, and also if you're going to build your own, you have to have your own access to data. So we have this term called MBI. You've probably heard of this grant, right? Minimum viable intelligence. So this is a strategic low-risk deployment of AI that delivers immediate business value. The key is to focus on use cases that sit at the intersection of visibility, efficiency, and narrative. Very important. MVI is like MVP, the old term of minimum viable product. We just turned it to minimum viable intelligence. Again, I really like the incremental growth inside the organization. You get you to the point where your data is actionable and visible. You've got metrics associated with that data, and then move on to kind of like external big growth opportunities where if you get your house in order really, really well, that's going to unlock some capital, unlock some time, unlock some talent, for then to be able to look at maybe a new marketing opportunity, maybe an acquisition opportunity, maybe new tech implementation opportunity. We've got that unlocked capital to do that and make larger strategic growth opportunities. A minimum viable intelligence framework. Again, we went through a clear use case, rapid deployment, measurable ROI, an internal champion, and shareable success. Really important. And this presentation, LSCP has it, and I have it. I can share it.
You go long, Joe. You go long.
If you guys want to keep going, I can. I don't want to bore everybody, and I have all this file information. So, first step to AI examples, RA and marketability. Clarity of intention is more important than complexity of the model, like we said. Smart content generation. This particular case, marketing teams generate product pages, social posts, and email campaigns using secured prompts. ROI, increased content velocity, lowers cost or asset, boosts SEO by visibility. So you can see as you're breaking it down, it's kind of like first step AI examples. Smart content generation, AI-powered customer support summaries, proposal and RFP assistance. It's kind of good in construction. Internal AI knowledge assistant. There's a whole bunch more on that list of different types and use cases that you can broken down by bucket. A lot of the things that you're doing in AI efficiency are actually broken down into a larger bucket of type. And then you can kind of look at the different types and look at what's the most efficient one and make first implementation, MBI, bucket type you want, and then you kind of break it down further to project that you want. Then you can do those rapid deployments. You can implement this stuff pretty fast if you look at it from that MBI perspective and incremental growth opportunities. The strategy, start with the story, not the tool. Success isn't just the AI, it's a story you get to tell. A lot of times in early implementation, like what I just told you, I'm working on 72 projects right now, and I have visibility of all those projects, and those projects are tied into my email. My AI is actually communicating my meetings back into the project, and then now it's back in my workflow, and all my project planning. That's all tied together. Good story, right? Wow, that's way more efficient. That's the kind of story you want to have, and you want to have it be that impactful when you start doing these implementations. Each one should follow that pattern. They should build on themselves and become like an cumulative effect in the organization. So we launched our first AI tool to support our sales team. It reduced proposal time by 60%, improved quality, and boosted morale. Now we're ready for more. This narrative becomes the internal attractor for funding and external signal to customers and talent. I can tell you, based on our Monday implementation, if you've worked with our organization within the last year, you would have seen a huge improvement in our quality for our customer, for our clients, because of the implementation of Monday.com. And every single week, we can just fly through that and see exactly the status of all of our clients, exactly what our next steps with the clients are, what are the barriers, what type of funding do we have. It's tied into our FinOps now. So all of our financial operations follow all of our project management. It's a clear line across the board so that each client then says, I know exactly where I'm at, I know what I'm doing next, and all of our team does that too. And we have a lot of projects that we work on, and we only have 2 project managers managing all of that, where that would have been impossible even a year ago. Forecasting and measuring the ROI becomes exponential when intelligence is embedded, not bolted on. It's really got to be something that you use in your everyday activity, and it's built into your process, and you have to have a really good, strong leadership to continue to keep it going. There's this initial phase always where, with any kind of implementation, especially this, where people don't use it. If people don't use it, then what's the purpose of it? It has to be functionally useful within the organization. That's a pretty much a no-brainer. And then you have to have baseline KPIs, time, cost, error rate, throughput are examples. Project the impact of AI with a small test. And then use the 3-lens ROI model. Efficiency ROI, time saved per task, fewer errors and rework cycles, increase capacity or speed to market. And you're hearing that in all the things that we've implemented at Innovate Market. And this is where we get into kind of the internal optimization incremental portion. AI through handling repeated tasks allows me to think bigger more often. I probably make in a week 200 just regular decisions. They're like no-brainer kind of stuff, and AI kind of does that for me mostly. I probably make 10 really important decisions a week that I have the time to think about and understand and make the right choice. That's reality. This allows me to do that, and it allows me to make those big moves and those big decisions now that I wouldn't have the opportunity to do before. Internal operating efficiency is foundational for scalable external growth. AI automates repetitive tasks like strategic human engagement. My work life is so much more rewarding when I can be out in the creative space. I hate the repetitive task stuff. It's just not me. I spend so much more time in that creative space thinking about these bigger projects that I really enjoy that. And I also like to be able to disseminate that information really quickly. I don't want to have to tell everybody again and over again and over again and over again and over again the same story. I can just tell everybody at once. And also, most of my project managers, team members, other team people within the organizations are also working within the project management portion of that with ChatGPT. So when they're adding their thoughts, it's actually going back into my content. It's great. Can group members think of examples where they made an incremental change within their organization? Has anybody done that? Anybody made an incremental change within the organizational side, not personal, but within the organization that you work at? It would have a recognizable result to your organization. Get there.
Yeah, big organizations, hard to move.
That's why it's the little pieces. Right? And that's why you got to get some people that are on board with you. You got to get a cohort around you. A great example is like doing a research project. So like in the psychology department, say, we'll say, what's the psychological impact of AI? Let's go get a grant through the NSF or something, and maybe $100,000 grant, and do a research project at Northern within the psychology department and say, what's the psychological impact if you have more time in your life to do professional development and wellness activities or more productive work? That instantly creates a cohort of people that are researching, understand it within the organization, and kind of building that first step. Well, once that's done, what's the next stage of that? We have all these findings, that's what we can do within other departments. that would be my recommendation how to do it in hiring. And that's been successful in multiple different organizations to kind of get it in and get people thinking about it. That is higher education is a hard place to go because the first thought is you're going to eliminate my job. I hear it all the time within higher ed in K-12. First thing you do is if you're going to make us more efficient, I'm losing my job, right? And we've got a lot of union issues associated with that. But if the outcome is that you get more time for professional development and you get more time for wellness activities, it might be more acceptable. And there's psychology that shows that that's a good way to implement AI in higher education. Not even associated with students, just the staff. I think I can probably just talk about this a little bit. What I talked about before was with actionable insights and precise forecasting from AI tools, I can confidently pursue substantial market growth opportunities, transforming informal decisions into well-calculated strategic leaps. And this is where we go back to, like, you know, the thing in the industry, the trend has really been like, how do I eliminate costs? How do I cut my bottom line? How do I get rid of the people? Well, in this particular case, when you actually implement AI, your thought process converts to how do I retrain or reskill those individuals? How do I, you know, instead of having someone on this data entry side, how do we go teach them about marketing skills and do marketing data analytics, right? How do we look at the organization? It's more tends to transition to how do I hire enough people to take advantage of this large, big jump I get to take now? But then how do I cut costs on that? Looking at top line growth. The thing I think that AI will be most beneficial to industry will be that transition when you look at, like Microsoft, yeah, they laid off 4,000 employees or something, right? But they hired 4,000 marketing people, right? AI allowed for that pivot to say, instead of, you know, tracking all this data over here, we can pivot that now and we can go and research new opportunities to scale our growth and to service our customers better. And that's really what should happen with AI in an organization is you should pivot from how do we cut bottom line cost, how do we think about these new opportunities and how do we capture these new opportunities and how do we hire more people and train more people to take advantage of those. And that's what I want to see AI happen. What happened with AI? That's what I want to see happen. And that's what happened in our organization for sure. We look at the efficiency improvements, you look at the new people that we're hiring, most of our new hires are going to be in the marketing and outreach side. And we're actually attracting a lot higher quality clients to work with too, and have the ability to work with them on a much higher level. Because really what happened with our organization is instead of doing a lot of those operations internally, we unlocked enough capital to be able to work with service providers who are experts in these fields. Now the project manager can point and click you through our advanced services ecosystem with a lot higher. In next year, in 2026, Innovate Marquette has the ability to invest through service providers $500,000 for clients. It's the biggest number we've ever seen. And that is because of all the efficiency improvement, but also the new revenue opportunity in the way we do our business now, seeing this big opportunity on our success fee model. To be able to now direct those dollars specifically to experts in the field to be able to provide those clients a much better service and accelerate them significantly faster to revenue. Like, that's cool. I can close with this. And in here, there's a whole bunch of construction tech, medical and healthcare, higher education, and advanced manufacturing examples of real use of AI, implementation of AI. And if you want that, Brooke has that too. When substantial growth opportunities emerge and your company is well positioned to scale using actionable data, the conversation shifts dramatically from the standard efficiency improvement, how do we reduce headcount, to the exhilarating challenge of how do we hire fast enough to keep up with the pace of our soaring demand. Top line growth, top line growth. I really think that the implementation of AI is going to allow for us for top line growth in business rather than bottom line cost cutting. Questions, thoughts? Yeah.
I don't know what specific tasks you're using AI to accomplish, but do you plan for error, or do you take time to like check things? Or
Humans always in the loop.
Okay.
No email goes out of my email box without me taking a look and reading through it first, of course. I do a lot of that verbally, so I don't have to, manually read it. And I've gotten better at over time in creating training AI. It solves a lot of those problems.
have you encountered error then?
Absolutely. Yeah. There is error within AI. It's getting way better. A lot of times what I'll also do, rather than having AI generate for me, is I will verbally generate what I want to generate. And then I'll ask the AI to correct it and also look for things that I'm missing within that. And then that will come back with a report. And then I can kind of blend those together. I think a lot of people are like, well, don't use AI, it's cheating, blah, blah, blah. It's definitely not cheating. AI has access to every single thing that was ever spoken by human beings and able to search and record all of that. I think when you get into like communicating with AI, like as a regular daily activity, it can prompt weird stuff. But it really is just kind of data driven. Like, here's the data that I have. Here's what we talked about. What do we need to do with this? How do we plan it? How do we schedule? How do we, what's the timelines of things? It does a really good job of generating that. You need to still go back in there always and make sure that you're checking it. I think as we've progressed through the GPT, I use ChatGPT 5.0 now. As we progress through, it's gotten significantly better.
Yeah, the more you use it, the more it'll adapt to you.
I've got thousands of pages of my own thoughts in my GPT now that it knows me really well. It scares some people, but yeah, I mean, I get to the point now where I talk to my GPT more than I talk in my own head, right? It's just more efficient to put it there than me try to remember it. It unlocks my brain to do creative stuff, not. What else?
You said when you're making 10 big decisions a week, how does your AI support you in that decision making?
The information gathering to make the decision. Right. Well, I would never have that capability to research all of that stuff that's going on in Poland right now. For instance, we're working on a technology right now. It's kind of a trade marketplace for the byproduct of the food industry for pet food. I came up to speed on that in 10 days. The research I could do on GPT, which would have taken me months to do before, to get to the point where I have that level of knowledge to be able to make good decisions of how do we create this database, what it will look like, what's the idiosyncrasies of the industry, all that kind of stuff. That's one conversation with a client, me researching for 10, 15 days, that whole industry, what it is, and then creating a technology that allows those people in the industry to communicate with the top tier of pet food suppliers and build a technology that does that. Put that into a timeline, put it in an actual plan, and implement that and start, applying resources to start to build it. We also now on customer discovery can do a customer discovery in 15, 20 minutes, where it would have been 10 days before. We have a specific type of AI we use to do customer discovery now, which prompts you on a whole bunch of different things. We have now an AI tool now that does campaign building and campaign launching, which ties that to your Performa. We have AI tools now that can go utilization of bubble technology and AI to take your napkin drawing to a full-blown clickable demo app in like 8 days, which that was months before. So it's like I said, it's compounding. If you look at our workflow process, that was all manually a year ago, done manually. Most of those pieces of that process now have an AI tool that we've embedded in there to do each one of those processes incrementally, which takes that whole entire process and goes to months. Like a Quickie is a great example as an NME professor in behavioral health. We have an application for couples therapy. We were able to take that idea from her handheld game application to a full-blown, clickable demo application that she could use in 7 days for 10 grand. And that's never been done at that level. So, like I said, it's not necessarily my personal life. Yeah, it's really improved it. I've incrementally these technologies in my workflow for me personally to make me way better at what I do. But then the workflow process of the organization is the same thing. To where now, if you came into our door with a napkin idea, we could have a MVP done, clickable demo done, and have your wireframe done, and have your MVP identified and ready to go out for investment with an investment deck in like literally 45 days. That's a 6-month process of incubation and test, by embedding those tools incrementally within that process. That's why that workflow layout is so important. Once you get the workflow laid out, you get it Monday, you start embedding AIs into that workflow process. You have those areas where you have barriers that you just speed them up. And you can do things in parallel too, which makes it even way faster.
So is that kind of like when you're prioritizing your application or like which AIs you're going to use? It's like, all right, what's slowing down our workflow? And then do some research. All right, what tools are out there that can help that bottleneck?
And The ones that we just talked about, we actually internally created those companies ourselves. Because we have the understanding in AI, in technology, and talent here. We created an ecosystem of talent. We created those internally. Those are founders that have those companies now. We're embedding in our workflow and putting it here, and then we're going to scale. And you can meet all those people if you want to. Up to them.
In here, this building?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Opportunity, yeah. So like literally, if you have a problem in your workflow and you want to create an application, if you do research now, you see like the big PE firms and investment firms today who have been invested in software development. And like the buy off the shelf stuff that you see it has been so popular for the last decade that it's kind of clunky and too big for what you need, not really specifically what you want. That whole industry right now says we can generate 65% of that software application specifically for you, and then we can just tweak it for what you want, and we can give you your own software. And that's going to get further and further beyond 65, 75, 85, 90% of that software will be developed by AI specifically for your use case. You own it, you manage it, and 10% will have to be done by humans. Think about how fast that speed there right now. So that's real. Those are real data. So anybody who wants to develop an app or create something for the workflow, we do that work. And a lot of times what that happens, I mean, I can give a great example in the security industry, bank security industry with a local company right now that's doing that. And it's unlocking a ton of potential for them to build new clients based on issues that happen in the banking industry, like fraud issues. That we built fantastic technology that they're using right now to do that. And we built that custom for them. We're opening up all kinds of opportunities. So. Cool. Good.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Yeah, there's more cards here. There's more information here. So if you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe. And now we'll have Grant give his presentation.
All right.
Make sure you unmute yourself.
There we go. Okay. No.
Brooke, are you muted?
Yes, it's coming from. You can hear it from the screen. The Kaufman
Okay.
speaker.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
You should still
Love
be
technology so much.
Yes. Wow, we're so good at this. Man, all of this. Okay. So, and Joe stuff is super good. It's super high level. Is that the way you guys want to? Were you able to follow that?
Or lower that box. Can you lower that box just so you can see her? There we go.
I work at NMU and I work in the Career Services Office, and I'm a part of the AI work group that is trying to implement these type of changes that Joe is talking about, but at a university level. And we have a lot of challenges with public sector data, and that we can't share student information. And I don't know if any of you have information that's like proprietary information that you don't want to share. And then when you use the big models that are stored in the cloud and it's trained on your data like ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or Grok, whatever you want to do it. If you don't have a contract that they're trained on your data, then the information that you put out there can be harvested potentially by other people and becomes not your information. So that's information that's good to know. And so NMU had to create a contract with Google Gemini so that their model wasn't being trained on anything that we're using in our Gemini AI chats. So that way we could talk about what we're doing. We're so conservative in the way that we use our data that we're not even still putting student information or any of that personal identifying information in there, even though we know our contract says it's not being trained on it. We just have to be extra cautious about this information because there's so many federal guidelines. So a fun note is that right now, everything that Joe talked about and we're talking right now, it sounds super awesome, super great, and it is, but it's just a snapshot of right now, and everything is getting better and better. And just like Joe saying, like a year ago, so much of this was not even possible. A year from now, what we're talking about now is also going to sound like old school. Like, oh, if you don't have an agent that does your email for you, wow, that's like so 2025. So I just want you to get that in your mind is like, things are rapidly moving in the AI space so quickly that it's hard to keep track. And so getting a newsletter of some sort is going to be good. So imagine you're all experiencing challenges in your business here in the UP, and it's hard to keep track. And the AI can, just like Joe said, can take a lot of that work from you. It can automate some of that. And I'm hoping that I'm going to show you some tools to do that hopefully you can use and run with. But I wanted to bring this up because I don't know if you talked with other business owners, people in Marquette, and I hear this all the time. It's like, oh, I hate AI. Did anybody hate AI in the room or know somebody who hates AI? Yeah, there's a lot of downsides to using AI that we're not feeling yet right now. And that people are rightly concerned about, of course, like the jobs. But the thing that like Joe talked about is jobs aren't necessarily being replaced, they're being moved. Tasks are being automated, typically not people. When you talk at like huge scales, the survey went out that of all the businesses that in the Fortune 500 that fired people to like replace with AI, and over half of them said like, we wish we wouldn't have done that. Like the technology wasn't there. The people is what is needed to make things happen. So I would highly recommend don't fire people and replace them with AI. Augment the people you have with AI so that they can get more done. And it's like you have a bigger team for the cost that you have, and it increases that top line growth. So on energy, anybody worried about the environment? Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that's just come out in honestly like the last 2 months about the impacts of data centers and AI on both the environment, water supply, the areas around data centers, and it doesn't look good. But there's so much opportunity. So every time there's a new advancement in technology, there is typically an increase in energy demand to compensate for that. And what that increase in energy demand does is it increases opportunity, it increases growth, and that has been the trend throughout history. So right now we're in just a new step of that, where we have a new highly demanding technology, and we have to, this is the challenge across the globe, is we have to create more energy in order to handle the demand for this technology so that we can increase our growth further. Is that always good? It's not. And I definitely recognize that. But the good news is the companies that are running these AI tools and platforms, especially the big ones like OpenAI that does ChatGPT, and Google and Grok and Anthropic, all of those big tools, they don't want it to cost a lot of energy. They don't want it to cost a lot of water. That hurts their bottom line. So they are rapidly and aggressively pursuing all of these ways to make their models train faster and cheaper, make them run faster and cheaper. And so just in the last week, Google finally released how Gemini uses energy, how their carbon footprint and their water usage. And I can share with you the report if you want, or you can just find it. But it used to be a pretty significant amount of energy per query in Gemini, and it's gone down to about 9 seconds of watching TV, what it takes on average when you are asking Gemini something. And ChatGPT is also, with GPT-5, greatly decreased the energy usage per prompt because the way that the model works, where it used to have all of the data within its training information. Now it needs to have just a portion of that and needs to know where to find the data. So it's deeply connected with the internet, and this is the way that all these AI tools are going to be shaped in the future. Instead of having all of the information in their training data, they only need a little bit, and they just need to know where to find it. So that means, just like you, when you need to find information, you're going to go on the internet and search it, and that means SEO is really important. So that means for these AI tools in the future, SEO is even more important, because that's going to be when you ask ChatGPT or whatever your tool is, any information, it has to go out and find it and then report back to you. And it's going to use SEO to prioritize what that is. So it just means for all you business owners that have websites that care about SEO, it's more important now than ever and going into the future. Because as people, even browsers are going to be changing here soon, where it's going to be AI powered and be filtering and sorting through things much quicker. So you've all used AI, whether it's GPT or whatever it is. You ever notice like, oh, the quality of the output just isn't good enough for me to use it? And that is I critique, especially in like my supervisor hates technology, and I'm like constantly like, just try this, and trying to teach them how to use the tools to get a better quality output. And so I'm just going to go quick into like using these like Swiss Army knives. This text is really small. Using the Swiss Army knives of AI tools like ChatGPT. They are trained to do lots and lots of things and have all this knowledge in there. If you don't give it the proper context in the prompt, then you're going to get garbage out. And so the best way to structure that is this really small text, RACEF model. And that stands for, you just declare a role, you say, this is the action that I want you to do in that role. These are the steps that you can do to accomplish that. Here is what you need to know in the background, the context. And then here's maybe some examples and maybe the format of how you want that to be in. So what Joe's talking about is in his ChatGPT, he has all of that context already built in. So along the left-hand bar, whatever, he has all of his projects or all of his chats. And every time he goes into a chat that represents a project and asks it a question or says, here's an idea, it knows that there's all that context built into that chat or that project. So he doesn't have to add all that context every time. But every time he starts a new project, he probably has to go in and input like a big chunk of it. That's a product of the right now with technology, because right now they don't have the memory side of it completely figured out yet, because what ChatGPT is trying to do is make it so it doesn't matter which chat you do, it knows, it has history of all of your chats. And so it knows like, okay, you work in this business. This is your role in that business. This is the goals of that business, no matter which chat you start. So that's where it's working on. ChatGPT is trying to get that nailed down right now. And they say like, we've got it. And then they're like, oh, wait, actually we'd only store this data for like a month or so. And then it loses who you are, loses some of that context. So you always got to check and verify when you can even ask it. So this is one of the big things that I would want you to take away from this. If you're using like the big general purpose tools, is make sure you're having a dialogue with it and asking it like, do you need more information? What do you know about this topic? Or you are assuming that it knows you and it knows the topic. You can ask it to populate that chat with the context for the information that you need to know. And using the RACEF method is the best way to do it. That's straight from the Anthropic, most of the recent Anthropic paper. And Anthropic is a company that does Claude. I don't know if you've heard of that AI, but they're super good at coding with them. All right, so I want to get into some of these tools because I was hoping that Joe would give me some examples, and I was like, oh, but he's high level guy, and he's got a team that does all of that. So I wanted to go in a little bit and do some professional design stuff or smarter meetings. He talked about Read.ai. I haven't tried that one yet. We've used Otter.ai as a way to, it can join your Zoom meetings automatically. It can have it sitting in your meeting table and just record it, and then it can summarize. And that's just an incredibly powerful tool to not have to have somebody there like vigorously taking down notes, and then it can summarize and create an action plan for you. So Read.ai and Otter.ai are two really good ones. Anybody here do professional design or graphics for their business? A little bit. So have you used like Canva probably, or
Canva,
Adobe
yeah.
Express, that kind of stuff. So you know that they're already embedded in those. And that's the way that so many of the tools that we've used in business for so long, they're integrating AI into them, whether you like it or not. It's up to you to learn how to use those tools. I won't get into Canva. So some other things, intelligent scheduling. So when you're having a meeting and you want to like find a time motion is a good one. Reclaim.ai. Those are really good tools for finding times in calendars and scheduling events. So anybody make videos for their business? You can now pretty quickly. So video generation with AI has gone really, really far in just the last year. And I haven't used most of these. I've used a little bit of Adobe Firefly and Google VO2, OpenAI, Sora. Most of these are free to use for like one try, and you can see how good, if it works for you, and then you can go in and pay a little bit to continue to use them. You've probably all seen on the internet these like crazy videos, and it's like, oh yeah, this is created by AI, like the bunnies bouncing on trampoline. That one was really everywhere. There was one car boarding where people are riding cars on a skate park, and it was absolutely hilarious. But it's made by like one developer in like a day, or one video editor in a day, and it's work that would have taken weeks otherwise. So it's just making things a lot faster. So you don't have to write down these, honestly. What I want you to do is you can go into your ChatGPT, or so a really good one I forgot to pull up is Perplexity. Anybody use Perplexity.ai? Yeah, one person. So Perplexity is really good as a search engine that uses AI. So on Google, it now has an AI overview at the top of your search. Perplexity has that, but it's just so much more thorough and directly cites and connects to all the sources you need. And that's just so helpful because, as you may have found in your Google search summary, AI summaries, sometimes it takes some liberty in those summaries, or it pulls out too much information and that you're not able to be useful. So Perplexity is super good at keeping those source data good, and also directly pointing, all right, this statement in my summary is pulled from these two sources. And then you can go and dig into those sources further. Or you can pull them into Notebook LM. Anybody use Notebook LM yet? Yeah, you find it useful? Perfect. So this one, I wish I would have started using this one a while ago. I just started using it a couple weeks ago. And what it makes it so good is, I'll just show a quick example. So you can put in up to 50 sources. These sources could be anything from a file to a YouTube video to a URL, whatever you want. And then you can ask questions of the Notebook LM, and it'll tell you, just based on those sources, your information. So if you have a lot of policies or procedures in your business that you want to ask questions, like is this the best way to do something, or is this going to be a violation of my policy? You can have those policies as your sources, and then you can ask questions and have a conversation with those policies. So it makes sure you're not going to be in violation, and it's always sources like, okay, this is pulled from this statement is pulled from this specific document, so you can always make sure it's accurate.
Is that different than like the file uploads to folders in ChatGPT?
It's probably about the same. I haven't tried that one yet, but since NMU has their Google campus, this is what we have access to. But yes, that is what it is. You're able to upload files and then have conversations with that. Yes, that's exactly what it is. So, and Notebook LM is free up to those 50 sources. So, a good tool to use. Going back over here. Okay, so he was also talking a lot about like automating things and automating workflows. Yeah, question.
I asked this earlier, but my main concern is accuracy of data and making sure that we're seeing mistakes and correcting mistakes. How would you go about making sure that the information you're receiving from using AI is accurate? And because if I'm making decisions based on information given to me by an AI, how do I know that that information is accurate and I'm making sound decisions?
Yeah, so that's why I have been using Perplexity a lot more, because it summarizes information and then it directly quotes back to where it got it from. And with the Notebook LM or the ChatGPT, what did you call it? The files.
You can upload folders to the files, but it's still lying to me in it. So
It still lies to you in it?
that's why I was asking if it was different.
Yeah, well,
Like it direct quoted a file yesterday and then asked for the paragraph before it, and it was like, oh, we can't actually find that.
oh, that's not good.
Well, and it'll make, like, we'll ask it to summarize stuff and it'll pull stuff that's like not true about our organization, or like, how did this even come in here? This isn't true. So
Yeah.
you have to check it.
Yeah, it's like you have to check it. And I don't know, we're a long way off from it being able to verify it. Something that Joe mentioned offhandedly as he has ChatGPT and Grok working together, and I wanted to like get into the details of that. Who knows exactly how, but what you can do is you can have an AI checking the work of another AI.
Well, and I do that even within, like I go to a new chat in ChatGPT and put the content in and say, find the errors in this. And then it will like produce its own errors without realizing that's what it's doing.
Yeah, also work in the career space, so helping students with resumes and stuff. We'll like create a resume and then have it try to adjust the text to match a job description. And then it will create a better resume. And then we'll go into a new chat or a new AI altogether and say, all right, how would you improve this? And it comes in with more ways to improve it that wasn't there from the first time. So it's like you gotta verify, and you can use the tools to verify itself. And in the end, I think the ending product is better than made, but
Okay.
it just takes a lot of like going through and like, all right, how would you improve this? What about this?
Yeah, I know there's a way to use AI in a increase efficiency, but I hesitate if it's like I'm using AI, but I have to go back and check everything all the time. Then am I actually being more efficient, or am I adding more steps? Just like, what's the difference between me just doing my own research and doing my own thing? But
I get it.
yeah, I don't know.
And I want to say like right now it's super, for sure, it's super easy to do that, but without going back and like double checking, I still think for me, it's been faster to still like use the AI for the initial research and follow up. It seems like it's still faster for me to get a more thorough response, but you still have to like read through it.
Yeah, of course.
So I definitely understand your hesitations for it. Accuracy is like the number one thing when you're making big decisions.
Yeah.
And you gotta trust. You cannot trust. You gotta do the work. So as far as like automation, I wanted to get more into is there's tools like N8N, Zapier, and Make that allow you to automate workflows. And Zapier is a super easy one where it's just like you can have an automated email based on a timeline, based on some data, or you can want a lot of fine tuning. N8N is an open source automation platform, but it takes a little bit more time to figure out. So if you do a lot of what Joe was saying that Monday does is that he can have basically a workflow that he works through with his clients, and it automates emails. It might do some research to create a summary that then he checks before it is sent as a report. That can be done with some smaller tools like N8N, Zapier, and Make. And I would just say look into those, because those are ways that you can really automate some of these really time-intensive, annoying processes of like emailing people and waiting for a response and creating reports and all that. That can save you a lot of time, and they don't cost nearly as much. So if any of you have any developers or web developers, computer science people on your team, you can host a lot of these large language models, these AIs, on your internal servers, so that if you care a lot about making sure your data is held within your business, you can do that. And so there's basically a repository called Hugging Face, which is just a wonderful little emoji. But this is where you can go and find AI models that you can then put onto your servers and then use. But it's just going to take some developer time to make that happen. And so there's even a lot of them are like open source, open weights, so you can like check to make sure it's not going to like be a virus or have any leaks. And they're like very modern new ones, like DeepSeek 3.1 that just came out like last week. And these are big models that may require a few GPUs to run on, or it might be small models that you can run on your phone. You can find all of those, the big ones to small ones, on Hugging Face. But you got to have the technical know-how to do that. So the big thing I want you to do is, if you don't know what to do, just ask your AI, like, what do you do? How? This is the business, this is the challenge I'm facing. What tools are out there that could solve this problem? And then it'll show you, give you some examples. And of course, the small red text, you have to ask, you have to verify your things. So Joe talked a little bit about web app development happening at record speeds. Anybody here have a website or have like potentially an app that you would want to like be developed to solve some problems in your business? You can now do a lot of that without you can make web apps without a team at all. So there are tools there are a few good ones out there that are like really good. I've used Bolt quite a few times, and you can literally just put in a prompt. And so I wanted to create a mindful spending journal for the students in my class, so I can help them learn how to budget. And all they've got to do is like add expenses and track those expenses, and just things I wanted to look for those expenses. I wanted to have it so that there are insights based on their spending trends. And I was able to say like, all right, this is the kind of app that I want to make. Create a prompt to build that in Bolt. And so I go into Gemini, describe what I want, and have it create a prompt that I bring into Bolt. And then Bolt creates the app for me. And it took like a couple minutes to do. So Bolt is one of them. I've used Macally as another one. Macally, M-A-C-A-L-Y. Lovable is another one. If you have people that are comfortable building web apps and coding, you can use Firebase Studio. That's one. That one requires a little bit more understanding. But what's crazy. I didn't know this until I just went into Gemini and asked Gemini, can you build a web app for me? And it said, yeah, and then it built one for me. And so I didn't need to bring it into anything that costs money at all. And just built a prototype right in Gemini. So on the topic of, is this saving you any time? I don't know if it's saving me any time, but what it is doing is it's opening up opportunities that I wouldn't have otherwise had. So there's like no way I would have like been able to like prototype a web app by myself. And what's great is if there's problems with the app, you can ask and it'll give you some advice on how to fix it. So it becomes like these AI tools can be your assistant that you can bounce ideas off of. When there's problems, you can describe the problem and it can say, here's some things to look at. And that's where it's super good, where AI is not coming for my job, it's coming for some of the tasks in my job. And I want it to take those tasks. Those are the annoying things that I want automated. Like I don't want to have to remember to send emails 1 week after a meeting. I don't want to have to do that. I'd love it if the AI could take my meeting that I had, summarize it, and create a follow-up email draft that can be like, yes, this brings all the specific points that we talked about and all of the actions that I wanted that student to work on, and then emails them and say, how is this going? And then they can respond, and it just saves a lot of time. So your action plan for today is use some AI tools to test some things out, try some, and ask like, all right, so if you have a bottleneck in your program, in your business, something that's been bothering you, ask your AI tool, is there a tool that can help me with this problem in my business? And then try to see if you can make an implementation work that works. Also, subscribe to a newsletter because this industry is going so fast. Tools are being made every week that could be helping your business. So some ones that I follow the Neuron is my favorite of all of them because I feel like the most comprehensive, and it adds a little bit of humor in there, and I love cats, so it's funny stuff, but also it's incredibly relevant information with new tools, new technologies, new prompt templates so that you can be more effective. Superhuman's good, the Rundown AI, each of those are good with practical insights. But in the end, contact Joe or me. We'll have walk you through, give you some things to think about, to try. We're here to help. Any last minute questions? Yeah.
Are we going to be able to get a copy of the slide?
Yes. So
Absolutely. Yes.
They've got
I'll be sending them all to you after.
So hard to see.
Any other questions though?
I did have one. Do any of these tools cost at all, or any cost associated with it?
Almost every tool you can try at least once for free to see if it worked for you. But most of them have been like pretty minimal, like $20, $25, $30, unless you want some really high end things. Those can be. When you're using a lot of them, like Joe said, it could be like $400 a month worth of technology fees. But if that's giving you value, it's worth it. That's your call. But I wish I could spend more money on these to make my job easier. Yeah.
Just to comment on the note of like the level of effort it takes to train it or the reviewing of it. I have been trying to explain it as like you have to review new hires' work as well, right? Like you're training them on how you want them to produce things, but you're never going to have turnover with this. So you're never going to have those costs of constantly training new staff. And sometimes that helps people wrap their head around the fact that you are checking their work.
It's good. It's like an intern that stays with you forever. It's better and better.
Robot intern.
It always starts out as a real dummy. Any other questions?
Thank you guys so much for attending our This is an AI workshop. Grant and Joe are fabulous resources to get a hold of. So if you have any questions, the contact information will be provided to everyone who attended. And if you do have any questions, never hesitate to reach out to them. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.